Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our November 24th Committee of Adjustment meeting. Call to order. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Bougie, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang, that we open the meeting at 5:31 p.m. All those in favor? Carried. Confirmation of agenda. Were there any changes? No. Mover and seconder for the agenda then. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Deputy Mayor Lang, that we accept the agenda as presented. All those in favor? Carried. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Approval of previous minutes. Were there any errors or omissions noted in the minutes? None seen. Approval of the minutes. A mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie, that we accept the previous minutes. Those are the meeting minutes of July 28th, 2025. All those in favor? Carried. So new business and reports. A13, 2025. Sabre. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, I'm going to read required wording under the Ontario Planning Act. So this is a hearing under Section 45 of the Ontario Planning Act. Any person may attend this hearing and or make written or verbal representation either in support of or in opposition to the proposed minor variance. If a person, the applicant, or public body does not make oral or written submissions at this hearing or before the minor variance is decided upon, their comments will not be considered by the Committee of Adjustment. Only the applicant, the minister, or specified persons as defined in the Ontario Planning Act or any public body may appeal the decision of the minor variance of the Committee of Adjustment to the Ontario Land Tribunal within 20 days of the decision. Note that the committee members have reviewed this application along with written submissions received in support of or in opposition prior to this hearing this evening, and in addition, we'll hear today further oral submissions from any interested parties. So the property that we're speaking about this evening is located on part of Lot 6, Concession 1, Lot 53, on the registered Plan 133, being Part 1 on Reference Plan 14R 3353 in the geographic township of Lancaster, now in South Glengarry, and it's located at 6274 164th Avenue, which is a private road. And the subject property is approximately 0.1 acres in area and has about 42.79 feet of water frontage according to the survey. This is a map that shows the location of the property. So you can see down here it's identified in black. As you head up on the screen or north, this would be Old Highway 2 at the top. So the applicant has constructed a dock that does not comply with Section 3.397G of Zoning Bylaw 3809. This section requires the dock to be located no closer than 4 meters to the nearest adjacent lot line. I'm going to explain to you what that section means. It's a section that doesn't come up often with our Committee of Adjustment. It has come up in the past, but not as consistently as maybe other requested setbacks. So the purpose of Section 3.397G is to regulate the location of a boathouse, boat port, a floatplane hangar, docks, and wharfs, so that these structures do not encroach on the adjacent property's water frontages. The water frontage is measured by projecting the lot boundaries onto the water perpendicular to the dock. I now have an image that I pulled together, and I know this isn't perfect, but the purpose of this image is to kind of explain to the committee members and members of the public what the bylaw means. So if we follow along, this is the subject property. You can see the lot lines, and we can see that it's on an angle. If you continue those lot lines and project them into the water, this is what the lot lines would look like. If we were to follow the 4-meter setback, and this obviously isn't to scale, it's just a drawing or a sketch that demonstrates the intent of the bylaw, this would demonstrate a 4-meter setback, and this would demonstrate a 4-meter setback. So then ideally, your dock would be located within this section or completely perpendicular to the shoreline. It's not uncommon to have docks like this, but they, different docks, different styles, various sizes, things like that. But again, the purpose is to have a bit of separation between where the dock starts and the abutting property. So the requested minor variance that we're here to review and discuss this evening is to reduce the 4-meter setback from the east and west side adjacent lot lines to 0 meters. If this minor variance is approved, the dock will remain the width of the subject property along the shoreline of the St. Lawrence River. This is a sketch that the applicants have provided to the municipality. I know it's kind of hard to see on this screen, so I'm going to walk you through it. This would be where the cottage is located. So if you look at the image on the top, you'll see the cottage and you'll see the dock here. So the cottage would be located here. This is an image of the dock. You can see here it on the west side, it comes out a little bit, then comes in. Then on the east side, it's completely angled. It's angled here and then comes out this way. So at one point, it goes towards the southeast. On this drawing, this wording says area is subject to be removed. So the applicants have agreed to remove this corner of the dock if the minor variance is approved. So again, I just took a snippet of that area. So if the applicant proposes to remove this southeast corner, they still are requiring a 0 meter setback because the 0 meters is at the property line. So again, it would be basically the width of that water frontage and projecting south into the water. We have a variety of photos to share with you. These photos were taken by our community planner, Joshua Hunton, on the day that the sign was erected. So this is the subject property. This is the subject cottage. And this would be the cottage's waterside yard, south facing. So this is the area where the dock is. It was a little bit of snow on the ground that day. And so a couple more photos just showing kind of the angle of the dock and how it was constructed. So here we're looking south along the east property line. And now we're on the dock looking north towards the east property line. And you can see there's been some boards removed here. And then now we're looking south along the west property line. So you can see where the dock comes out and then jets back in and then heads south towards the water, into the water. And again, this is a photo facing east. The property is designated rural district in the county official plan, and it's zoned limited services residential because it's located on a private road, and there's a portion of the property that's located in the floodplain, and that would be along the shoreline, and that's zoned according to our township's bylaw. These two are images that show the official plan designation with the subject property, and then this is our zoning map with the yellow representing limited services residential, and this area representing the floodplain portion, so the hatching area. The application was circulated to all abutting property owners within 60 meters, the Raisin Region Conservation Authority, and applicable municipal staff, and we have received one written comment to date from a member of the public. So that comment that we received is from the abutting property owner to the east of the subject property. And the comment expresses concerns regarding encroachment into abutting neighbors' yards and perceived negative impacts to a reasonable enjoyment of one's privacy. The public comment was provided to members of the committee as well as the applicants in advance of today's hearing. The Raisin Region Conservation Authority has reviewed the requested minor variance, and they have no objections to the proposed variance as requested. So planning staff have reviewed the requested minor variance, and so I've reviewed it. I've looked at what they're requesting. I've looked at the intent of the bylaw, and requesting a variance to go from 4 meters to 0 is very difficult for staff to support. And the reason is the goal of that separation distance is to provide easier access to the dock, and I'll get into that a little bit more. So the intent of that section 3.397G of the bylaw is to ensure that structures on the waterfront don't encroach onto the abutting properties. The required 4 meter setback would allow for dock structures to be constructed, maintained, accessed, and used without encroaching on and negatively impacting abutting property owners. That space would allow people to access the dock, maybe climb on a ladder, park a sea-doo beside it, a kayak, a canoe, whatever it may be. 4 meters is only 13 feet. That's not a lot of space. So you're not getting a decent-sized boat on the side of it, but that you could park your boat out, further in the water. That, again, doesn't negatively impact the owners or the abutting property owners. And property owners and tenants are entitled to quiet enjoyment of their premises. They should be able to enjoy their premises free from interference or encroachment by neighboring properties. And that really is what the intent of the bylaw is just to be able to appreciate and use your own space without having those encroachments. So we are recommending that to deny the variance as requested to 0 because it doesn't meet the intent of the zoning bylaw. It doesn't allow for easy access and maintenance of that dock without negatively impacting the abutting property owners. So in accordance with the Ontario Planning Act, the Committee of Adjustment and staff must consider 4 tests when making a decision on a requested variance. So this is a reminder to the committee, but this is more of a benefit to the public so you understand what we're looking and what we're considering when a decision is being made. So the 4 tests are, number 1 is the requested variance must be minor in nature. There is no definition for minor. This is something that's very subjective, and it's something that the committee members can consider and determine what they think is minor. The variance must be desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, building, or structure. It must meet the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and it must meet the general intent and purpose of the, I've got zoning bylaw repeated twice, I apologize for that. It should say the official plan and the zoning bylaw. The Committee of Adjustment can approve, deny, or defer a decision. If the Committee of Adjustment approves this application, the planning staff are requesting that a condition be included in the decision that the southeast corner of the existing dock be removed by May 1st, 2026. And just a reminder, this is something that the applicants are proposing to do. It's identified on that drawing. So if you choose to approve it, we will ask that this condition be included. At this time, Mr. Mayor, I would like to turn it over to the applicants. We have Mrs. Sabarin here, who's the owner, and her 2 children that will speak to it. And I think it's important for you to hear from them because they can explain, when they constructed the dock, why they just constructed it the way they did, how they use it. I think it's important for you to have that information to understand the whole picture because that's something that administration or staff can't speak to when it's your property and how you use it every day. So if you don't mind, I'll turn it over to you and I can answer questions later. Thank you.
Okay, great. If you are able to provide that context, that'd be wonderful. The microphones are pretty simple to use. Just turn the gray button on, it will go red and talk into it. And I talk as close as I can. My voice doesn't carry as well for online after. So if you have a soft voice, please do talk into it. And yes, please proceed.
Okay. So we've had,
That's close enough.
hi. The dock was reformed due to damage done by the water and ice buildup over time. 2016 was really hard on our property, so we looked for help, spoke to neighbors and friends. They suggested Al McDonald. So Al came down, gave his advice, and recommended a new steel pile-driven dock and overlay of the wood so it would cover the stone and protect it from getting eroded. Karen and Malcolm were aware of the renovations and they had no oppositions to any. The dock has not been changed since 2017. We also, when Al was there, consulted the neighbors. The neighbor on the west side said that he just didn't want his whole affected, so he just asked that we went in an angle. The McCaulleys did not have any suggestions, so Al suggested to finish it the way it went, and that was good with us. We didn't care. After receiving their initial request, because they've asked us to change the dock, we did as much as we could without touching the steel beam, but underneath what's left is a big steel beam, so we would need a welder to remove the rest. We did move the stairs as they requested. They also don't like boaters and kayaks and swimmers and all cottage toys in their site, and 95% of the time the current there goes their way. When we compared our docks to other docks down the neighborhood, they're all the same. They all go end to end. They all look nice and clean. And Al McDonald also shared with us that there was a significant amount of these docks in the township that he's built, and they're all built the same. We didn't know about the 13-foot rule, because it would not be our intention to break this rule. So I guess we ask you guys tonight for their request so that we can also enjoy some view. They've added the big 12-foot fence just about, so the only spot we can see is right at the tip of our dock now.
All right, thank you very much for that context. Should I go through names, or? Are there any questions of the committee at present? Councillor McDonnell?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Not so much a question, just more, I guess, a general comment from my take on having gone down and seen the property and seen it. If you look at a number of the properties along that point in particular, they all have very similar docks along there. I would assume at one point probably done all in joint. I mean, personally, I'm happy to hear what the rest of the public has to say, but at this point, I mean, if there's some kind of a compromise that can be made that, it's not completely encroached across the property line, but I mean, if you look at 13 feet on each side, those aren't overly wide properties. That doesn't leave you a whole lot of space in the center of the property to have this style of a dock. And I think removing a portion of it would be, well, it'd be just excessive. Those are heavy-duty, pile-driven, welded steel frame docks. They're large I-beams. It's not a matter of pulling some boards up just like that and you're done. There's a lot of time, money, and work to do that and to build them. So it's just my 2 cents as of now.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from members of the committee? Okay. Oh, Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through you, Mayor McDonald. A question, when the dock was constructed, did you have clear understanding of where your property lines were at that time? And did you seek like any sort of like an easement or any sort of that form of agreement with the neighbor, if you knew you were on the other side of the property line?
No, we didn't. And if you look at the property, the way that it's cut, it was always kind of built wrong in the first place. I mean, everybody's waterfront kind of looks the same. That one picture showed it good, that their boards go up and down and ours go this way. So technically, they own the corner of that end. So it's kind of really, it's a weird corner. It should have never been built like that in the first place. It should have been cut back right to theirs. So that's going to be a problem, that spot.
Do you still have a question, or do you want to ask for
Maybe I
clarification?
don't understand. So in terms of the property line, you're saying the property line is, it is in line, like the fence is where the property line is, or it is? Okay, thanks.
All right, we'll go to questions of the public. I do see people in the audience here. I don't know if anybody wishes to speak. And then I know we have some online participants as well, should they wish to speak. We'll just check Zoom. And please remember,
Yes,
after speaking, just so we don't get that feedback, put it on mute, but please proceed. Oh, and before you speak,
Okay,
just your name and
someone's going to,
your name and civic address.
yes, this is, yeah, so I'm Malcolm McCauley. This is my wife, Karen McCauley. We're at 6273, which is the adjacent property on 164th Ave. And yeah, we're the ones that the dock encroaches on. But there is a presentation of material that I believe either Joanne was, yeah. So if we could just back up to the first slide.
Yeah.
Right. So this is an image of the dock, and as you can see, my wife has put up you know, a pallet with some plants in it to try to block the view, because essentially what we're trying to achieve here is some privacy. But this is just an example of like where a boat would typically be parked on that dock, which in this particular case, it's 10 feet into our property. And this happens on a regular occasion. So essentially, this is what we're trying to get away from. If you could go to the next slide, please. And on many occasions, you know, we have individuals on the portion of the dock that's on our, you know, that's beyond the property line. It's on our section. And again, you can see that we've actually placed articles to try to block the view, so we try to maintain some property privacy there. There is an individual standing on what used to be the water entry stairwell, which has since been removed. We did request that it been removed. It took them 2 years to remove it. Can we go to the next slide, please?
Well, and
No.
these people are all directly looking into our
Yeah, they
property.
are actually, well, not in this particular slide, but on the previous slide, they were looking into the property. This is just another example where they're standing on that section that's on our property. We go to the next slide, please. Again, this is in 2024 when the ladder was still positioned on this portion of the dock, which had actually encroached onto our section in excess of 6 feet. And then again, you can see there's a boat parked there again, which sits out significantly into our property.
So the other side of that fire pit was placed there to block some of the people and the ladder. But the other side of that fire pit actually is all of our property, all the way down, and their dock is attached to it, and is attached by how many feet?
There's almost 3 foot of
3 foot, yeah.
encroachment of what was their dock before they started to move some of it back.
So the encroachment is actually 3 foot into our property.
Yeah. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this is a view from our living room, and this is one of our major concerns. The fact that not only is the section that abuts into our property used to moor boats, but the existing boat is also visible. So one of the reasons why we needed to go further back is so that we don't have visibility of that boat. And if that boat is moved further forward so that they can park boats on the other side, then it becomes more visible. So in any event, that boat needs to be pushed back. And that's one of the reasons why the 4 meter adjustment would ensure that that boat's not visible. But the other portion of the need of that is to ensure that boats aren't parked so that they're abutting into our property.
But was fact that 2 of the people actually said that that boat was going to be moved further into our property.
I will add also that we were never contacted before this dock was constructed. This dock was constructed during a period of time where we rarely went to this cottage. We started going to this cottage regularly and determined that this had been built and we weren't aware of it. So no one actually contacted us and made us aware that this was going to be built. Next slide, please.
And the fence is that high because of
Yeah, so one of the reasons we're showing this slide is to show the damage that occurs underneath. And as you can see, underneath their portion of the dock, their slabs are actually broken and falling into the existing section. And we're very concerned that if all of that's not lifted up and repaired, further damage occurs, because this actually does not protect the waterfront. What this does is it creates something for the waves to come under and destroy what's existing, because there was no maintenance done to the existing water wall prior to building over top of it. And so as a result, we ended up having a significant amount of damage to our property, which we ended up having to fill with rocks in order to ensure that we could sustain it. And I don't know that that has actually been repaired as yet.
So when we left this summer, this is how it was left. It looks like from some of the photographs that you have that now this actually looks slightly different.
Well, something's been done
They've
since.
cut something back over here.
Yeah, can we go to the next slide, please? Again, that's the section of the dock that is on our property, and at this time those individuals are standing on that section that's on our property. Can we go to the next?
And they are looking in.
Yeah, they are in this particular photo. They're both looking. Can we go to the next slide, please? Again, this individual is looking directly into our front room and looking all the way down the hallway because we were at the back of the hallway when we saw this. We go to the next slide, please. Again, another individual is looking straight into the house. And again, and we go to the next slide, please. And this individual is looking directly into the house. We go to the next slide, please.
And you see the boat there.
So from the portion of the dock that's on our property, when you look back, you can actually look back and see the back wall. That's actually a TV set that you see that looks lit up. That's in the master bedroom that's on the back end of the house. So clearly you can see directly into our home, both in the living room and into the kitchen, all the way back from that section that abuts. And that's really the corner that's existing outermost. Can we go to the next slide, please? And at night, this is how it appears. You can actually see into the living room, and you can see into the kitchen through the house, and that's actually standing on that portion that's on our property again.
Go to the front room because that's the one down the hallway where you can see. Oh, this is the one.
Yeah, and so this is the last slide, and you can actually see the corner of the dock that sticks out into that's visible, and we're actually standing at the back of the hallway. You can see on the right-hand side there's a door to the bathroom. One morning, my wife had a shower, and when she came out and looked to the right, there was an individual standing there looking into the house. She had to wait for that individual to move so she could come out of the bathroom because she hadn't covered herself up. And so that was one of the things that was extremely disturbing at that time. And I think so. I don't think that the proposal to eliminate just that corner back to the property line is going to assure us that that boat or any boat is not going to be parked so it's visible to us. And that's our major concern. And that was one of the reasons why when we didn't, all of the attempts that we made in our requests to have, a section of that dock removed and not getting any response that was positive from that, we finally decided that, we were going to have to go with the bylaw because it was going to be the only thing that assured that a boat was not going to be parked within 4 meters of the property line. And that's one of the reasons why, it was essential that we get that 4 meters, because where the boat currently stands on that boat lift is still highly visible to us. And that's really, that's really everything we have.
All right, thank you very much. I'll look to council if there's any questions or comments about that. Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Haley, can you maybe remind us just where our limits kind of stop? Because sorry, I'll repeat the question. Ms. Haley, could you maybe remind us kind of where our limits stop on this? Just from my personal knowledge, I was always under the impression, more or less, I guess to make it plain and simple, I could pull my houseboat up in front of somebody's cottage and put a little drawbridge on it, and I can sit there till the ice comes in. There's nothing that we can do to control where a boat is once it's over the water, especially on a freestanding, whether it's on a freestanding lift or floating. And I guess too, I am kind of questioning this as well as are we only supposed to control the point of contact with the land? Once it's over the water, I thought this was kind of out of our realm. Like we're stretching a property line over the water, but nobody owns the water, correct?
So through you, Mr. Chair, to answer that question, we have no jurisdiction on what happens in the water in terms of any, boating activity, parking boats, etc. We don't even issue permits for docks or boathouses that are entirely in the water because our jurisdiction is what is connected to the land at the water's edge. We have a legal right to regulate the location of the docks, as I explained to you in that presentation. We don't have a legal right on really how to regulate how to use the docks. So, for example, if individuals are having activities out on the dock or out on the water, that's something that we are not going to control or enforce. So you are correct in stating that what physically touches the land and how our zoning bylaw is written is completely acceptable for us to regulate that.
Can I just ask a for example question, just because I hadn't thought of that? Say, for example, that there was a dock that, went out straight 4 feet from the center of their property and then had a T with the same lining. That would then be acceptable because the portion over the property line as it juts above the water is not within our jurisdiction. That would be the case in that example.
Yes, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair, that you are 100% correct on that. And so there are docks that are actually designed like that. There's a variety of docks on our waterfront. And I mean, and the only time the Ministry, MNRF, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, regulate docks is when they cover more than 15 square meters of the surface of the river. And so that's why you get such a variety of styles or shapes. And I wouldn't have as much knowledge as maybe waterfront property owners were in terms of the current, how rough it is in certain sections. So when I speak with property owners on the waterfront, they certainly are very knowledgeable in terms of what style of docks they should have, what works in their area, what's permanent, what can be removed, et cetera. So again, that shape that you said could happen, and a variety of other shapes could happen as well. It's more about making sure that you're not trespassing on the abutting property, which is why we have that required setback.
I just take some like personal stories of like, our family has a cottage in Westlake. Fortunately, there's a large bank, but we had an uncle on one side in our property, and then there's just one right of way. And as owners change, things can change at times. And I know it's always unfortunate whenever we find ourselves in these situations because for the most part, we want to get along with our neighbors. But waterfront tends to, it's a valuable view. I understand that portion of it. Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. It is unfortunate when neighbors aren't able to kind of work it out amongst themselves, because I'm sure if they did, then it wouldn't have come to us in the first place. But I guess that's why we have the rules in place, that if they can't, then the rules, we follow the rules, and that hopefully solves things. I do see the problem that if you go back 4 meters on both sides, you are eliminating likely more than half of that dock. This minor variance, is it being requested for both sides of the property or for one? For both sides? And there's no issues with the other side that we know of? No property owners on the west side, are they here tonight, or any correspondence from them at all?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I've received no correspondence from any other property owner. I'm not aware of any issues, but I did hear the applicants say this evening, and they explained to us previously that they made that modification to the dock when they consulted with their neighbors. So that west side is slightly different. It comes back in and out. And if I said something incorrectly, please correct me.
Yeah, I did go down and look at the property and walk the dock and had a look at it. I have a hard time approving this at 0. I don't think that's minor. If we're going from 4 meters to 0, I maybe would be comfortable with a small variance, maybe down to 3, maybe 2. I don't know, but I'm not comfortable at 0, especially if there's not an agreement between neighbors. So that's where I'm at.
Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was along the same lines as well as the deputy mayor at the start, but I think the more I looked at a lot of the docks down there, they are already at 0, and I would assume that none of them have come for a minor variance. So my concern would be setting a precedent more or less at that point. Are we going to be telling people to take out 20 and 30-year-old edges of docks just because a squabble between two neighbors might arise? I would be fine at the 0 pending that they do follow through with the removal of the portion of the dock. It would bring them more in line with what's already existing on a number of those properties down there. And I'd even go as far as if we want to insulate for the abutting property owner as well, we can include in that condition the placement of the stairs or the steps that were an issue at one time, and I'm sure they've been removed probably for the winter time and probably have a new permanent spot. But if we included it in that, personally, I am fine going to the 0 at this point, just based on what's already precedent, I think, down there with a lot of the neighbors. But that's where I stand.
Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you. Through Mayor McDonald. Questions to the applicants. In terms of the design of the dock, and the context for this is I I also don't think the 0 is minor in nature. I'm trying to understand in terms of the construction of this dock, if there are, the way it's built, is it like, well, you could get to 2 meters, or if you removed a section, you can get to 2.5 off the property line? Like, is there, considering how it's constructed, is there any of that sort of?
So just for online,
It's cantilevered?
it's a self-standing dock.
Oh,
It would be a steel frame that's welded on posts that are pounded in the river. So it's basically not even attached to shore. It's freestanding over top of the shoreline, basically. It would be quite a bit of work to remove, because you're talking about having to remove the boards and then go back and probably have to use a torch to cut it back in size.
thank you for that. Yeah, again, in terms of, it does appear that there are a number of properties that have the extent, docks that go out extended, but there are also some that have them jutted out, sort of more in, I think, a more traditional, perhaps we call that, design. But I'm not overly concerned about precedent in this case, because we have lots of situations where neighbors have informal or formal agreements on how, you know, they're okay with perhaps, you know, accepting something different because it works well for everybody. But I think this is like a perfect example of a situation where the intent of the bylaw is meant to help have good neighborly relations, and this is unfortunately a case where there isn't agreement. So yeah, I'm more inclined to be in line with the deputy mayor on what might be a compromise situation. Perhaps, I mean, if it sounds like going to 4 is not easily feasible, perhaps there's a slighter, shorter distance. But I think, yeah, again, there's, it does seem like there's some compelling reasons as to why the size of this this dock is causing issues when you're looking at it through the lens of encroachment.
I believe the applicant wishes to speak, so just turn your microphone on again and speak into it.
This 4-meter rule, if it's meant that you have to be 4 meters from the neighbor's property so that you can put a boat attached to that 4 meters, then at this point, are we not just removing the dock and replacing a boat? Because we're going to have to put the boat somewhere. So if we put another smaller dock and go out, we're still going to be in their view. Or if we change it, put a long dock out, we're still in their view. Or if I go swimming and stand in the water, I'm looking at them.
Thank you for that question, and through you, Mr. Chair. The intent of the 4 meters of the 13 feet isn't to accommodate a boat. It really is about being able to construct, access, and maintain that dock without trespassing on the abutting property. There wouldn't be very many boats out there that would be, you know, 13 feet depending, but you could easily get a Sea-Doo, a kayak, or you can put your ladder on that side without being physically in front of the other property owner's waterfront space and having a structure on there.
One more thing too, the way that the properties look, like pie shape, it's really easy for them to see a lot because the angle is like this. As if the angle of the property was like that too, it would be so much calmer than you're not like in the yard. You know, nobody hangs out.
Yeah,
That
a
makes
more
it really rough too.
a more perpendicular lot
Yeah,
line
if it
would
was
make
straight
for
out.
easier neighbors too at that time. I'm not saying just like straight
Like
lines
I went
are
down
simple.
today and I stood where it would need to be cut, and you can still see their whole property, even with that 4 meters cut. I can still stand and see it. And that's even with what's there. If we do put a smaller dock out, I'll see the whole thing again.
No, those are fair points, and I suppose, like as Deputy Mayor Lang said, like I kind of, the tough part is the bylaws are there. I'm similar to Councillor George, you're not afraid of Preston. It would be nice if there could be some middle ground perhaps resolved, and maybe we can go back to the east neighbor to see if there is an idea that that's possible. But I'd be curious if Councillor Bougie, if you have some thoughts on it too.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, I mean, after reading through everything, it's unfortunate that the neighbors couldn't come to some kind of agreement, but when they come to us, I feel like we need to go to our bylaws, and I would look more to using the 4 meter or somewhere in between, and not the 0 on the lot line, based on everything that's happened and them coming to us. So I'd be 4 or somewhere in between. Hopefully, maybe the other neighbors seemed like they were willing to maybe work something out, but yeah, definitely not 0.
So it seems presently the room is leaning towards not 0. So is it, I've really never negotiated in this spot. Can we go to the east neighbor to see if there is some middle ground, or is that the form? I just don't want to go a wrong way here, procedurally that is.
So what I would suggest in a situation like this, Mr. Chair, and this is simply a suggestion, it's something for you to consider, perhaps deferring the application may be the best bet. It's not really the Committee of Adjustments' role to impose a number. The request should come from the applicant. So, and we've done this in similar cases in the past where we would like to see neighbors work together and maybe suggest something that they both could live with. It is very possible that there won't be an agreement between the 2 neighbors, and if that's the case, that's okay. That is what it is. But then at least the property owners can come back to the committee with a suggestion of what maybe they could modify or what they would like to do to give you a position to say yes, or to give you an opportunity to say yes or no. It did sound like you were saying not all of you are willing to go to the 0, so that's what I would recommend, is defer it and allow them to take the time that's needed to come up with a different suggestion or solution. We are in the winter months. We are, at least, at this time of year, people aren't using these types of properties regularly. So we do have some time to, I feel, to do that, and hopefully, not too much time would pass so that you do have solutions for spring enjoyment, but that would be something that I would suggest for the committee to consider.
Just before moving to Deputy Mayor Lang, I do like the idea of that. Obviously, you're looking for as much concession, so that would be favorable to you. I would hate to waste time if the colleagues are totally against anything, right? Because then we can take the decision to why delay a decision if somebody's like a hard stop on that end, because then that takes out the negotiation between neighbors, which would be ideal. So would it be appropriate to request some colleagues if they'd be interested, just because then we can have that thought? So to you, I guess it's Mr. McCauley, would you be amicable to something not at 0 or between 0 and 4, if it can be arranged?
I think we are amenable to that, but this might not be the right time to decide on that number. My wife and I would have to discuss that. I know we've had that discussion before, and we did come up with what we thought would work, but that's not going to work at this time. So we will have to have that discussion, and possibly a deferral at this time would work, and we can get back together and accommodate everyone on this.
I think then it would be ideal to maybe have that deferral, but I will go to Deputy Mayor Lang and then Councillor Jaworski, because I saw their hands up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. And I think it would be great if we could defer it and give people a chance to see if they can work something out. I think it's far better if they work it out there than us imposing it. But something I did want to comment on, and because it was brought up a few times, was the view and not being in the view. And I don't feel that that's what we need to be worrying about, whether it's in the view, because it depends where you stand on the property. Like if McCauley's are standing on the very east point of their corner, they should be able, looking on an angle, to see almost all of that dock. So I think it's just a matter that the dock is not in front of their property, and people aren't standing right in front of their property. But if you can see it from some point on that dock, I don't think that is what we are to look at. I think we're more looking at where the dock is actually situated, not so much the view. So I think the applicant kind of has a point there, that it's not about where they can be seen.
No, that is a fair point, and right, we often say on other things unfortunately we can't buy that view and the property lines, etc. if I was to have, I don't normally speak as much, but like that view back into the house is the view that I'm most concerned with, and I can see that from a neighborly side. I wouldn't really, if I'm on the border and can see the dock and somebody can see into my house, I fully appreciate that portion, and I also do understand that if you look on the east side or the southeast side, like you can broadside across and see the whole thing. So for me, it's not about the view; it is privacy too. So I do hope it's something can be arranged. Councillor Jaworski.
Thank you, through Mayor McDonald. No, I think that was put very well. Certainly, I agree that I would like a deferment because I think it would be much better if there is an amicable resolution. I think if we're imposing this at 4 meters, and I mean, that obviously is going to be, that would be a very large endeavor for the applicants to cut it back 4 meters at a significant cost, which I'm sure will not help improve relations between the neighbors. So if it's something that could come, to an amicable compromise, I think that would be ideal. My question to you, Ms. Haley, is there any time limits around a deferral?
Thank you for your question, through you, Mr. Chair. So if the committee chooses to defer, we do need a reason for the deferral. So I would appreciate if you could, discuss what your expectations are, and so we can include that in our decision. We will continue working with the applicant and make sure that it's, we're not wasting a lot of time. And I would like to think that we'd like to have this resolved well before you start enjoying your property next summer. When we have the information or a suggestion from the applicants, we will reschedule it with the committee. If I'm seeing that there's no suggestions coming from the applicants, or there seems to be no movement on working out, then we will come back to the committee for you to make a decision on the application, and then the committee will have to decide whether they are approving, refusing, or modifying the request.
Deputy Mayor Lang.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I'm not sure exactly what you need for a reason for deferral, but my personal reason is that I think there could be something that I would be able to agree was more minor in nature rather than zero. I just don't find it minor enough for me. If it was, 2 meters, I'd say, okay, maybe, we're splitting the difference or something like that. That's kind of my reason. I don't know if that's what you're looking for or not.
Councillor McDonnell.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm, the will of the committee is to go to a deferral. I'm fine. I would also agree. I don't want to say it's going to 4. I think that's too far in enforcement and an extreme kind of option. I think there's something in between if we're going to go to that. At the same time, too, let's temper expectations. We do not control the water. We don't control the view. We're talking about privacy on small properties at the end of the day. These are fairly small parcels with smaller dwellings on them. I just want to temper that as well. We don't take care of freestanding boat lifts that are out in the water. You could have them basically anywhere you wanted, whether you own the property or not. So let's just temper that as well at the same time. I mean, there's got to be some kind of compromise here, and it'd be nice to see both parties come back with a number they agree to, but at the same time, if that can't be reached, there's been a lot of comment on the view. I agree looking into the property, but I've got a cottage down on the St. Lawrence, and you can sit on the end of your dock all day, and there's going to be 5 or 6 boats that come by and throw a fishing rod underneath the dock, trying to catch a fish. There's nothing you can do about it. You don't own the water. So, and just the same as our former mayor used to say, you don't own the view. So let's just temper expectations at the end of the day.
Thank you. So then, is it sufficient for you as the recording secretary, I suppose, to say that we don't deem it presently as minor in nature as a reason to defer it? Okay. Then I'll call the vote to defer it. All those in favor of deferring? Okay. Carried. We will defer this because council at present the application does not seem minor in nature. Okay.
So thank you for the decision. Mr. Chair, for the applicants, we're happy to continue working with you. You can reach out to Joshua or myself at any time. We'll look forward to setting up a meeting with you in the near future to discuss those next steps and to discuss options and how you can bring those options back. And don't hesitate to call if you have any questions. You can call anytime. Thank you.
And thank you for everyone's time, either in person or online, for attending this evening. Then I'll get a call to adjournment. All those in favor, or sorry, moved by Councillor McDonnell, seconded by Councillor Bougie, that we adjourn to the call of the chair at 6:20 PM. All those in favor? Carried. Meeting is adjourned.